Ladies and gentlemen, if you want a man to truly see you as his wife, you must understand one powerful truth. Attraction grows in space, not in desperation. When you are always available, always explaining, always adjusting yourself to keep him comfortable, you teach him that your presence costs nothing. And what costs nothing is rarely valued. Attraction grows in space, not desperation, because human desire is fueled by curiosity, respect, and emotional tension, not by constant availability. When someone knows you are always there, always waiting, always ready to respond, your presence becomes predictable. Predictability kills mystery, and without mystery, attraction slowly fades. Space allows a person to wonder about you, think about you, and emotionally process your value. It gives room for imagination, and imagination is a powerful driver of desire. Desperation, on the other hand, communicates fear. It silently says that you are afraid of being alone, afraid of losing someone, and afraid that your worth depends on their attention. Even if those fears are never spoken, they are felt. People are naturally drawn to confidence and repelled by neediness because neediness feels like a burden. When someone senses that you require them to feel complete, attraction turns into pressure. Pressure does not inspire love, it creates avoidance. Space is not about disappearing or acting cold. It is about having a life that does not revolve around one person. When you prioritize your goals, routines, and self-growth, you send a message that your time and energy are valuable. This creates emotional weight. The other person begins to feel that access to you is not guaranteed, and that feeling triggers appreciation. What is limited is respected. What is always available is taken for granted. Distance also allows emotions to settle and clarity to form. Constant communication can blur feelings and create emotional fatigue. When there is space, emotions deepen instead of scatter. A person begins to miss your presence, your voice, your energy. That missing feeling is essential for attraction because it confirms emotional attachment. Without absence, there is no longing, and without longing, attraction weakens. When you step back from desperation, you regain your natural power. You stop reacting and start choosing. This shift changes how you are perceived. Instead of someone seeking validation, you become someone who is selective. Selectiveness signals high value. It shows that you do not give yourself freely to anyone who shows minimal interest. That sense of self-worth strengthens attraction at a subconscious level. Space also protects your emotional dignity. It keeps you from over-investing too early and losing yourself in the process. When you allow attraction to grow naturally through balanced presence and absence, it creates a deeper and more stable emotional connection. Stop over-giving and chasing because these behaviors quietly reduce your value in the eyes of the person you want to be chosen by. Over-giving often comes from a good place, a desire to love deeply, to be supportive, and to show commitment. But when it is not balanced, it turns into self-sacrifice. When you constantly give more time, more effort, more understanding, and more emotional energy than the other person, you teach them that your needs come last. Love that requires you to abandon yourself is not love, it is emotional depletion. Chasing creates an uneven dynamic where one person becomes the prize and the other becomes the pursuer. The one who chases is always reacting, always adjusting, always trying to secure attention. This imbalance removes emotional tension and replaces it with predictability. When someone knows you will always follow up, always explain yourself, always stay even when your needs are ignored, they stop investing. Effort naturally decreases when there is no risk of loss. Overgiving also blurs boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are signals of self-respect. When you give without limits, you communicate that access to you is unlimited. Unlimited access lowers perceived value because it removes the need for effort. People tend to cherish what they have to earn. When love is handed over without conditions, it often becomes invisible. Chasing keeps you focused on their actions instead of your own standards. You start measuring your worth by how quickly they reply, how much attention they give, or how often they choose you. This mindset slowly erodes confidence. The more you chase, the more you disconnect from your own center. Emotional stability is attractive, but chasing replaces stability with anxiety. When you stop overgiving, you create space for reciprocity. You allow the other person to step forward on their own. If they care, they will meet you halfway. If they do not, their absence gives you clarity instead of confusion. Stopping the chase is not about manipulation or silence. It is about dignity. It is choosing to respond instead of pursue, to observe instead of assume, and to value yourself enough to not convince someone to see your worth. By pulling back from overgiving, you reclaim your energy. That energy then flows into your growth, your peace, and your purpose. When someone sees that you are no longer trying to secure them, but instead standing firm in your own life, the dynamic shifts. You move from being someone who tries to be chosen to someone whose presence must be earned. Distance creates reflection and fear of loss because it interrupts emotional comfort and forces awareness. When someone has constant access to you, they remain relaxed, almost asleep in the connection. There is no urgency to evaluate your importance because your presence feels guaranteed. Distance breaks that guarantee. It introduces a pause where the other person must sit with their thoughts, emotions, and memories of you. In that pause, reflection begins. Reflection allows a person to replay moments, conversations, and emotional experiences they shared with you. They begin to notice the things you did that brought stability, warmth, or support into their life. While you were always present, these contributions blended into the background. With distance, they stand out. Absence sharpens perception. What once felt normal now feels missing, and missing creates awareness. Fear of loss does not come from manipulation. It comes from contrast. When your energy, attention, and presence are no longer constant, the contrast between having you and not having you becomes clear. The mind naturally tries to restore what feels valuable. This is when someone begins to ask themselves deeper questions about commitment, consistency, and effort. Comfort never asks these questions. Distance does. Distance also removes emotional noise. Constant contact can create confusion, mixed signals, and emotional overload. Space clears the noise and allows true feelings to rise. If someone truly values you, the silence will feel heavy, not relieving. That heaviness pushes them to confront what they are risking by staying passive. It brings emotional honesty to the surface. Fear of loss activates responsibility. When a person realizes that you are not endlessly available, they become aware that their actions have consequences. This awareness can trigger maturity. They begin to consider whether they are willing to step up, invest, and protect the connection. Without distance, there is no sequence for inaction, and without consequence, there is no growth. Distance also restores your emotional power. By stepping back, you stop feeding uncertainty and start allowing reality to reveal itself. Someone who only enjoyed your presence but not your absence was never attached to you deeply. Someone who feels unsettled, reflective, and motivated during that space is showing genuine emotional investment. This shift changes the dynamic from casual comfort to intentional choice. A person either moves closer with clarity or drifts away with honesty. Distance removes illusions and replaces them with truth. It creates the emotional conditions where realization can happen naturally, without pressure or persuasion. Self-respect makes commitment happen because it sets the emotional standard for how you are treated and valued. When you respect yourself, you do not negotiate your worth or tolerate behavior that leaves you feeling confused, ignored, or diminished. This quiet firmness communicates strength without needing to say a word. People respond to what you allow, not what you demand, and self-respect shapes what is allowed. A person with self-respect does not rush connection or force outcomes. They move with clarity and patience, trusting that what is meant for them will not require self-betrayal. This energy creates safety and admiration. Commitment grows where there is emotional stability, not chaos. When someone sees that you are grounded, consistent, and clear in your value, they understand that being with you requires responsibility. Self-respect also removes the fear-based behaviors that sabotage commitment. There is no begging for reassurance, no constant questioning of intentions, and no shrinking to keep someone interested. Instead, there is calm confidence. This confidence is deeply attractive because it signals emotional maturity. A mature connection cannot exist without mutual respect, and respect begins with how you treat yourself. When you honor your boundaries, you teach others how to engage with you. Boundaries are not ultimatums. They are quiet limits that protect your peace. A person who wants a future with you will naturally rise to meet those limits. Someone who resists them reveals their inability to commit. Self-respect saves you from wasting time on potential instead of reality. Commitment is not sparked by pressure, it is inspired by value. When someone feels that losing you would mean losing peace, loyalty, and emotional depth, commitment becomes a natural response. Self-respect creates that value. It shows that you are not trying to be chosen, but that you choose carefully. A self-respecting person does not chase validation because their worth is already established internally. This removes desperation from the connection and replaces it with balance. Balance is where commitment thrives. It allows love to grow without fear, without control, and without power struggles. When someone realizes that access to you requires company, consistency, honesty, and effort, they begin to see you not as an option, but as a priority. Self-respect transforms how you are perceived, shifting you from temporary presence to long-term consideration.